Good morning, welcome back to the channel where we're starting a new book today, the book of Ruth. But before we begin, our morning prayer. Father, as I read and receive your word, may it deeply be rooted in me, so when difficulty comes, it will be your word that encourages and strengthens me. Amen. This page won't stop. Okay, as I said, we're starting the book of Ruth. This is actually one I'm excited to get into. I've done some studies recently, and I keep having this reference to the book of Ruth, so this is going to be an interesting one. So for Ruth, the author is unknown. The date is during the time of Judges, 11th century BC. The content is the book of Ruth portrays another side of the chaotic time when Judges ruled Israel. This story provides welcome relief from the bloodshed and mayhem that seemed to engulf the land because of Israel's sin. It is the story of Ruth, who decided to stay with her mother-in-law, Naomi, after tragedy had struck their household. God returned good to Ruth by giving her a husband, Boaz, and a child, and also blessed Naomi with grandchildren. From this family eventually came David the king. Theme: even in times of crisis and despair, we can live by God's principles, and for that He will ultimately reward us. The fundamental virtues of love, faith, trust, and goodness are greater than hatred and violence, and these virtues will guide people from generation to generation. Chapter 1. Elimelech moves his family to Moab. Elimelech. In the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a man from Bethlehem in Judah left the country because of a severe famine. He took his wife and 2 sons and went to live in the country of Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife was Naomi. Their 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephraites from Bethlehem, Ephraites from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. And during their stay in page to turn here. In Moab, Elimelech died, and Naomi was left with her 2 sons. The 2 sons married Moabite women. One married a woman named Orpah, and the other a woman named Ruth. But about 10 years later, both Mahlon and Chilion died. This left Naomi alone without her husband or sons. Naomi and Ruth return. Then Naomi heard in Moab that the Lord had blessed the people in Judah by giving them good crops again. So Naomi and her daughters-in-law got ready to leave Moab to return to their homeland. With her 2 daughters-in-law, she set out from the place where she had been living, and they took the road that would lead them back to Judah. But on her way, Naomi said to her 2 daughters-in-law, "Go back to your mother's homes instead of coming with me, and may the Lord reward you for your kindness to your husbands and to me. May the Lord bless you with security of another marriage." Then she kissed them goodbye, and they all broke down and wept. "No," they said, "we want to go with you to your people." But Naomi replied, "Why should you go on with me? Can I still give birth to other sons who could grow up to be your husbands? No, my daughters, return to your parents' home, for I am too old to marry again. And even if it were possible, and I were to get married tonight and bear sons, then what? Would you wait for them to grow up and refuse to marry someone else? No, of course not. My daughters, things are far more bitter for me than for you, because the Lord himself has caused me to suffer." And again they wept together, and Ophrah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye. But Ruth insisted on staying with Naomi. "See," Naomi said to her, "your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. You should do the same." But Ruth replied, "Don't ask me to leave you and turn back. I will go wherever you go and live wherever you live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. I will die where you die, and you will be buried there, and will be buried there. May the Lord punish me severely if I allow anything but death to separate us." So when Naomi saw that Ruth had made her mind up to go with her, she stopped urging her. So the 2 of them continued on their journey. When they came to Bethlehem, the entire town was stirred by their arrival. "Is it really Naomi?" the women asked. Don't call me Naomi, she told them. Instead, call me Mara, for the Almighty has made life very bitter for me. I went away full, but the Lord has brought me home empty. Why should you call me Naomi when the Lord has caused me to suffer and the Almighty has sent such tragedy? So Naomi returned from Moab, accompanied by her daughter-in-law Ruth, the young Moabite woman. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley festival. Harvest. Chapter 2. Ruth works in Boaz's field. Now there was a wealthy and influential man in Bethlehem named Boaz, who was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech. One day Ruth said to Naomi, "Let me go out into the fields to gather leftover grain behind anyone who will let me do it." And Naomi said, "All right, my daughter, go ahead." So Ruth went out to gather grain behind the harvesters. And as it happened, she found herself working in the field that belonged to Boaz, the relative of her father-in-law, Elimelech. While she was there, Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters. "The Lord be with you," he said. "And the Lord bless you," the harvesters replied. The Boaz asked his foreman, "Who is that girl over there?" And the foreman replied, "She's the young woman from Moab who came back with Naomi. She asked me this morning if she could gather grain behind the harvesters. She has been hard at work ever since, except for a few minutes' rest over there in the shelter." Boaz went over and said to Ruth, "Listen, my daughter, stay right here with us when you gather grain. Don't go to any other fields. Stay right behind the women working in my field. Says which part of the field they are harvesting, and then follow them. I have warned the young men not to bother you. And when you are thirsty, help yourself to the water they have drawn from the well." Ruth fell at his feet and thanked him warmly. "Why are you being so kind to me?" she asked. "I am only a foreigner." "Yes, I know," Boaz replied, "but I also know about the love and kindness you have shown your mother-in-law since the death of your husband. I have heard how you left your father and mother and your own land to live here among complete strangers. May the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take refuge, reward you fully." "I hope I continue to please you, sir," she replied. "You have comforted me by speaking so kindly to me, even though I am not as worthy as your workers." At lunchtime, Boaz called to her, "Come over here and help yourself to some of our food. You can dip your bread in the wine if you'd like." So she sat with his harvesters, and Boaz gave her food, more than she could eat. When Ruth went back to work again, Boaz ordered his young men, "Let her gather grain right among the sheaves without stopping her, and pull out some heaves of barley from the bundle and drop them on purpose for her. Let her pick them up, and don't give her a hard time." So Ruth gathered barley there all day, and when she beat out the grain that evening, it came to about half a bushel. She carried it back into town and showed it to her mother-in-law. Ruth also gave her the food that was left over from lunch. "So much," Naomi explained. "Where did you gather all this grain today?" "Where did you work? May the Lord bless the one who helps you." So Ruth told her mother-in-law about the man in the field she had worked, and she said, "The man I worked with today is named Boaz." "May the Lord bless him," Naomi told her daughter-in-law. "He is showing his kindness to us as well as to your dead husband. That man is one of our closest relatives, one of our family redeemers." Then Ruth said, "What's more, Boaz even told me to come back and stay with his harvesters until the entire harvest is complete." "This is wonderful," Naomi explained. "Do as he said. Stay with his workers right through the whole harvest. You will be safe there, unlike in other fields." So Ruth worked alongside the women in Boaz's field and gathered grain with them until the end of the barley harvest. Then she worked with them through the wheat harvest too, but all the while she lived with her mother-in-law. It's only 9 minutes. We'll do chapter 3. Chapter 3. Ruth at the threshing floor. One day Naomi said to Ruth, "My daughter, it's time that I found a permanent home for you, so that you will be provided for. Boaz is as close relative as ours, and he's been very kind by letting you gather grain with his workers. Tonight he will be winnowing barley at the threshing floor. Now do as I tell you. Take a bath and put on perfume and dress in your nicest clothes. Then go to the threshing floor and don't let Boaz see you until he has finished his meal. Be sure to notice where he lies down, and then go uncover his feet and lie down there, and he will tell you what to do." "I will do everything you say," Ruth replied. So she went down to the threshing floor that night and followed the instructions of her mother-in-law. After Boaz had finished his meal and was in good spirits, he lay down beside the heap of grain and went to sleep. Then Ruth came quietly and covered his feet and lay down. Around midnight, Boaz suddenly woke up and turned over, and he was surprised to find a young woman lying at his feet. "Who are you?" he demanded. "I am your servant Ruth," she replied. "Spread the corner of your covering over me, for you are my family redeemer." "The Lord bless you, my daughter," Boaz explained. "You are showing more family loyalty now than ever by not running after a younger man, whether rich or poor. Now don't worry about a thing, my daughter. I will do what is necessary, for everyone in town knows you are an honorable woman. But there is one problem. While it is true that I am one of your family redeemers, there is another man who is more closely related to you than I am. Stay here tonight, and in the morning I will talk to him. If he is willing to redeem you, then let him marry you. But he is not willing, then as surely as the Lord lives, I will marry you. Now lie down here until morning." So Ruth lay at Boaz's feet until the morning, but she got up before it was light enough for people to recognize each other. For Boaz said, "No one must know that a woman was here at the threshing floor." Boaz also said to her, "Bring your cloak and spread it out." He measured out 6 scoops of barley into the cloak and helped her put it on her back. Then when Boaz returned to the town. When Ruth went back to her mother-in-law, Naomi asked, "What happened, my daughter?" Ruth told Naomi everything Boaz had done for her, and then she added, "He gave me 6 scoops of barley and said, 'Don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed.'" Then Naomi said to her, "Just be patient, my daughter, until we hear what happens. The man won't rest until he has followed through on this. He will settle it today." Okay, right back next. Well, thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it. We will continue with Ruth tomorrow. And until then, I hope you have a blessed day and a good day. Bye.